My aspirations were college baseball would be pretty great. I don't know if being a top 10 draft pick was ever in my mind until it actually happened.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Sideline Stories. Today I'm here with Jacob Turner, former MLB pitcher turned wealth advisor. How are you doing today, Jacob?
I'm good, Brendan. I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time. Could you just start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying, my story's had a lot of twists and turns. I signed as a professional baseball player at 18 years old. I was the ninth overall pick in the 2009 Major League Baseball draft. I spent 11 years as a professional baseball player, and after that, I transitioned out of the game and started a financial advising business that focuses on helping athletes and entrepreneurs navigate sudden wealth.
Awesome. And I guess I kind of wanted to just start with a question that I feel like a little bit is the elephant in the room. Growing up, did you ever in your wildest dreams believe you would be a top 10 MLB draft pick?
I always wanted to play professional baseball. I think most kids that play sports dream of playing it at the highest level. I have two brothers. We lived and breathed sports growing up. So there was certainly an element that I wanted to do it, but I grew up in a small town just outside of St. Louis. I would say my aspirations were if I could play college baseball would be pretty great. So to your point, I don't know if being a top 10 draft pick was ever in my mind until it actually happened.
The idea of embracing the journey. So, your career, even if it's just one season, has a lot of ups and downs. And, you had an 11-year career, played on 5 different teams. What does being a journeyman in a professional sports league teach you about loving and embracing the process?
That's a great question. I'll start with the fact that when I first got to the big leagues, I remember being in the locker room with people that were quote unquote journeymen and thinking like, oh, you don't want to be that guy. You want to be the superstar. By the time I was done with my career, I certainly appreciated the term journeyman. And I would say my career was certainly like that. For me, embracing the process and being a journeyman, you have to understand that there's going to be so many ups and downs, whether you're Jacob Turner or whether you're Mike Trout, whether you have sustained success, you have a flash in the pan bit of success, or you really grind it out for 9 or 10 years, you have to love the process. The process in baseball as a pitcher was doing all the daily things in between starts just to have a chance to compete when you were out there on the mound.
Hmm.
As you know, Brendan, as an athlete, if you don't love the process of all the little things that you're doing when no one's watching, oftentimes you're not going to be at your best when you go out there to perform, and you're not going to give yourself that best chance to succeed.
Quick question about an anecdote I heard you share on the Danny Miranda podcast was you talked about, and this kind of I think goes into the process and the journey, but also just the ups and downs. You talked about going from pitching in front of 40,000 fans in your hometown to being informed that you were going to be moved back down to the minor leagues. You drove to your home in St. Louis, but your wife and kids were in Washington. You were playing for Washington at the time. What kept you going in moments like that where you might have felt discouraged, frustrated, isolated, and helped you see it as kind of a bump in the road and bump in the journey and not as like a dead end?
To be honest, I think everybody from a human standpoint is going to have times where they're, for lack of a better term, sulking. I would always give myself 24 hours. You can feel sorry for yourself for 24 hours, but after that, it's your choice if you want to feel sorry for yourself. It's your choice if you want to wake up and move on from something bad that maybe happened. For me, one of the best things that I had was the team of people around me. And I don't so much mean the people that were actually helping me on the field or off the field. I'm not talking about my agent or my coaches. I'm talking about the people that were truly in it for me, the people that I could call my brothers, my family, some coaches, some mentors I had throughout the process, that no matter what was happening, good or bad, whether I was having my biggest successes or my worst failures, I knew that those people were going to be there for me.
Mhm.
I can remember having a conversation with my older brother after another similar situation where I had a terrible game. I was getting sent to the minor leagues, and I said something to the effect of, I just don't know if I want to keep doing this anymore. And he was able to just recalibrate me into reminding myself what an amazing opportunity I still had in front of me. I was still a professional baseball player. All it was going to take was me going back to the minor leagues and performing for the next 4 to 6 weeks to get another opportunity. And having those people that can give you a dose of reality when oftentimes professional sports, you're living in a world that's not reality.
Do you have any opinions or thoughts? Athletes in today's world, they're put on a pedestal a little bit, but at the end of the day, they're humans as well. They have emotions as well.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's missed is that there is a huge human element. When you go to the baseball game, the football game, the basketball game on a Wednesday night or a Sunday night, and you're watching your favorite star athlete play, and whether he performs or he doesn't perform, that's just another day for them. And they're going to wake up tomorrow and do the same thing over again. And you might not go back to a game for another 3 weeks. And you're probably not even going to think about the team unless you're a huge fan, maybe for another 2 weeks. They're doing that every single day. So it's just a different element, I think, that a lot of people miss. In terms of the emotions that come with being a professional athlete, what I would tell anybody is if you don't have thick skin or you're not comfortable developing that skill, you shouldn't do it. There's always going to be people that are coming for you in any public setting. And what I would tell anybody, whether they're running a business, they're getting promoted in the company, they're an elite athlete, they've graduated from a prestigious school, and they're getting quote unquote hate from other people, ultimately, like, it just means you're doing something that people wish that they were doing. And I think that's the framing that most people should think about it through. Now, it's easier said than done. It's not fun getting booed when you're on the field. It's not fun getting people to telling you that you're doing terrible and that you should be doing better, but it's part of the job. And if you don't like it, you can always do something else.
That's absolutely true. I appreciate that. And then, kind of as we're wrapping up, I wanted to know. So you said earlier that you work with athletes and entrepreneurs who maybe in the athlete kind of side of things, they were maybe a high draft pick or they signed that first contract. Obviously, there are some financial literacy and financial, I guess, lack of education, for better words, that kind of affects and negatively influences how an athlete kind of handles their money. But can you just shed a little light about what are some of the greatest hardships or difficulties for people like athletes and entrepreneurs who obtain sudden wealth?
The hardest thing is just navigating what does it actually look like for your life. And what I mean by that is if you think about somebody coming into money, let's call it $1 million. On the surface, $1 million is a lot of money. But in terms of what it looks like for your future, if you're actually living off that money, it's not near as much as what you think it is. So the term that I always say is you can either live like a prince forever or a king for a day. It's your choice how big you want to build your lifestyle. And one of the hardest things for an athlete or an entrepreneur to do is as they start making more money, it is very easy to start building out a lifestyle that becomes very hard to start pushing down if you have to. Once you buy the house and you have big expenses, once you buy the nice car, you're going to want to keep buying it. Once you set the expectation that every time that we go out to dinner, we're going to go to a really nice place, I'm going to pay for it for every single person that's there, you are creating a lifestyle that is getting inherently more and more expensive. And you just have to be aware that can I continue to afford this if I wasn't making the million, $2 million, $5 million paycheck every year?
At this time, Jacob, I just wanted to say I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this conversation. If there's anything that we missed or that you want to expand on, the floor is yours. And if you could add where people can find you and follow along on your continued journey, that would be amazing.
Yeah, the one thing that I would leave everybody listening with is oftentimes we think we have life figured out. We think we know what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. I can tell you from my own experiences, and this might be unique to me, that life has gone a million different ways that I didn't see it going. And it's okay for that to happen. It's okay for you to not know where you're going in the future, but just continuing to put one foot in front of the other is something that's always helped me in my life. People can find me on Twitter. I'm most active on there. My handle is at the Sudden Wealth. You can also find me on LinkedIn at the Sudden Wealth and on Instagram at the Sudden Wealth. So if you want to get in contact, the best place is probably Twitter DMs. But look forward to connecting with anybody that wants to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jacob. I really appreciate you taking the time. And guys, make sure to follow along and be ready for his next step on his journey.
Thanks, Brennan.